Hey, I'm Paula. This is How to Make Dinner, and today I want to talk about chutney. Chutney is something that I love to have on hand all the time. Chutney is basically a sweet and savory and tangy preserve made by cooking down onions and fruit and vegetables and spices to make like a savory sweet spread. I have a recipe for chutney on my blog, howtomakedinner.com, and it's actually not really a recipe, it's more of a formula. It's a formula I learned from a woman named Beth, who is an expert chutney maker. And it's so great because all it is a certain amount of onions, a certain amount of apples, a certain amount of vinegar, sugar, and spices, and then everything else is totally freestyle. So you can use up zucchini if you have tons of zucchini lying around. You can use apples, pears, you can use plums, eggplant, carrots. You can literally throw in any fruit and veg as long as you keep to that kind of specified ratio. And it always turns out great. It's like a foolproof method for use up whatever you've got chutney. Making chutney is actually really easy. And because you only have to do it once a year, you kind of get into the zone, you make a bunch, and then you have it all year. And you can give it away as gifts. You can trade with your friends. So the chutney that I have here today is a gift from my friend Tristan, and I traded him for one of my chutneys. I have no idea what's in it, but I don't really care. It's gonna be good. I love to use chutney on so many things. Most notably, it's excellent with cheese. So I love to put it on a cheese plate with an assortment of cheeses and crackers or breads. I love it with sausages. So, a couple of sausages, some potatoes, pile of chutney on the side. Sometimes I cook sausages just so that I can eat chutney. And it's especially good if you're eating vegan or vegetarian sausages because those tend to be really dry. So you're gonna want that chutney. Today I'm gonna make one of my favorite things to eat chutney on, which is a chutney and cheese sandwich. So this is basically a grilled cheese sandwich with chutney on it. So simple, barely even a recipe, but I wanted to show you how I make it and how I believe the ultimate grilled cheese and chutney should be. So I have some bread. This is my homemade bread. It's about 50% white flour, 50% kamut flour. It's not as big as I'd like it to be, but you know what? I'm just experimenting with different flours and I'm on a bread journey, so I'm just rolling with it. Let's see how it looks. Not bad, not bad. It's a little bit of a tight crumb, I'd say. Also, I have all my booze bottles down here. My liquor cabinet is on this thing and it's not very sturdy, so it gets really noisy when I wiggle it. All I'm gonna do here is butter my bread, and I'm buttering the outside of the bread. This could just as easily be mayo. I'm a big fan of the mayonnaise on the outside grilled cheese program. Love that. But I happen to be out of mayo right now. And I'm in the mood for butter, so I'm doing butter. And sometimes there's a bit of a mathematical equation for making sure that the slices fit properly, and I did it right here, so I'm happy. All right. As far as cheese goes, I do like to use a blend of cheeses. Pretty much anytime I'm doing anything that uses a lot of cheese, like mac and cheese, or a grilled cheese sandwich, I like to use more than one cheese. I just find that it gives you more balance. Something like cheddar has that really sharp cheddar flavor, which I love, but then something like a Gruyere is super melty and like gooey. So I'm gonna use a blend of cheddar and Gruyere here. And I'm not gonna weigh it or anything or measure it, but I'm gonna say it's a pile of cheese. Gruyere is one of my all-time favorite cheeses, especially really good aged stuff. It's so nutty and fruity. So good. So to assemble the sandwich, I like to start with the chutney. It smells really good. I don't know what it is again, but I like to put an even layer on the bread directly on both sides. This definitely has a lot of raisins in it, which I love. And then it's just about piling the cheese. Make it kind of nice and mixed together. And yeah, it's gonna look like way too much cheese, but it's kind of what you want, isn't it? If some of the cheese melts down and kind of like gets crispy on the edges, even better. Looks about right to me. Okay, so I'm gonna slap this on the grill. I've got my heated grill pan thingy here. And because I like the cheese to melt fully, I recommend putting a lid on top because that just helps kind of hold the steam in, especially on the first side. Or if it's too tall for a lid, you can just stick an upside down frying pan on it. If you're somebody who likes to dip your grilled cheese in ketchup, which I am, you're gonna love this sandwich because it's got that sweet tanginess from the chutney instead of the ketchup. But really it's the same thing that we're going for. We're going for a sweet, acidic, kind of vinegary something to kind of cut through that rich cheesiness. So it serves the same purpose. It's just a little bit more complex in flavor, I guess. After a couple minutes, I'm just gonna flip it because I don't want it to get too dark on one side. This is the kind of thing where it's kind of safer to flip it a few times just to make sure you don't burn it. And that'll help make sure that the cheese melts completely too, because you're giving it a chance to cook all the way through. Here goes. There's nothing better than salty, rich, fatty, creamy cheese with this tangy, sweet, sour chutney on crunchy bread. So good. I love this cheese and chutney sandwich. I love chutney in general. If you're curious about how to make chutney for yourself, head on over to howtomakedinner.com and check out my foolproof formula because it really, really works. And make yourself a cheese and chutney sandwich. I highly recommend it. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you liked this episode, and I'll see you again next week.